7:55 a.m., Sunday, January 7th of December, 1941. It was a quiet morning. American soldiers in the port are sleeping soundly after one Saturday night was fun, but that quiet only lasts as long as the clock has not yet begun. At 8 o'clock, there was a familiar silence before the storm hits. A Legion 374 Japanese fighter aircraft suddenly appeared and bombed the ship. American war at Pearl Harbor on the USS ship blew up the battleship. USS Arizona burned fiercely after a firecracker explosion hit the bomb and exploded on the sailors. The battleship USS NNC had to continuously spray water cannon into the sea to prevent the oil from spreading. Going to this warship, everyone was shocked. The attack was sudden and extremely daring, causing huge shock to Americans. And then, this is an important turning point causing the situation of the Second World War, two spectacular changes in the U.S. President decided to take this country, officially involved war. War Pearl Harbor is the flagship's main facility, America's Pacific team since the year 1940. This place is a deep water port located west of Homedu City on Oahu Island, built on a deep sea and land bay of the island, and then divided into many regions. The sea and the discrete channel have a charm. TB in the middle of the bay is called ports, are even more important to the Navy due to its prime location in Pearl Harbor. There are ideal natural conditions for both, can become a command base as well, become a logistics and security base. Defend the fleet against all attacks from outside. In May 1940, the Americans turned Pearl Harbor serves as the main base for the Fleet Pacific Environmental Team. Here used by the Americans as a base for protection, maintenance, and repair of the fleet's warships. Pacific Ocean. Further from this base, Pacific Fleet of the Chinese Navy, CAI can control the entire northern region. The Pacific Ocean's work in port is over security with a steel mesh system, especially against torpedoes and submarines. So the Americans did not think that Japan would attack. At first, effort was wasted because of the distance. Therefore, it lacks the necessary defense. Americans were even more surprised by the situation, his seeming invulnerability. 29 aircraft were shot down and 4 mini-submarines. 5 small submarines were sunk along with the Casio commanding officer. When Sakamaki is captured, he will be injured. The U.S. was very heavy in both attacks. Japan's takes about 75 minutes. 20. American warships were sunk, including 8. The battleship and 300 aircraft were destroyed more than 2,400 American soldiers and civilians. About 1,000 people were killed and injured. Admiral Irokaku Yamaha, architect leader of the Port Buffalo attack, wrote in his diary, "I'm afraid of all the things we've done will awaken the giant and fill it with terrible determination in battle. This has left a very deep wound, grew in the hearts of the American military. During the Battle of Pearl Harbor is a lesson in loss of scenery, feeling unwilling to fight and master. The enemy is very difficult to compare in terms of work. Japanese intelligence prepared for battle for many years. The battle just went on in 3 hours. But Nhat was ready to work, fought on all fronts. Over the past 11 months, there in the book, counts down to the next one. Near Pearl Harbor, 12 days until the end." Steve Tommy's attack, the author made comments that the U.S. was attacked, unexpected attack on December 7th. Year 41 is still a valuable lesson. Vague warnings about operating machinery, bureaucracy has come at a price. Daring attack by the Japanese army, which even more than 75 years later is still a classic example, represents a failure of imagination. The prognosis is completely unexpected, but many American soldiers also made it in time, fighting back. Many warships have been repaired, cured, and returned to fight in the battles. Then attacks look animated. It seems like Japan's success, but in fact, the target was not achieved is to completely destroy the Thai fleet. Bin Duong of America, power generating stations, shipyards, repair yards, and warehouses, fuel and torpedoes and docks for submarines and command headquarters, buildings. All 3 carriers remain under special protection. Pacific Fleet flights were steady, was not present at Pearl Harbor at the time. the point where the attack occurred and later closed key role in the response campaign. Paying the U.S. military first is the job on the battleship USS Virginia tried. Take the injured captain to safety, then use the anti-aircraft machine gun, shot down many enemy planes even though it was impossible. Trained for this task according to the documentation of the Imperial War Museum. 1 year, Mr. Miller was then awarded the Medal Secchi. Second highest in the Navy for execution. His brave actions saved the lives of many injured comrades. Injured when his battleship sank, was ordered to a destroyer in 1973, and modern nuclear aircraft carriers most of the U.S. Navy. There are also 2 pilot Kenneth Taylor and Job Webb flew. Aircraft shot down a total of 7 enemy aircraft and received the second highest order of merit U.S. Army Air Force Japanese purpose. It was originally an American test, but it's finally here is an important turning point and a milestone most pivotal of World War II, at least with victory at Pearl Harbor. The Japanese Army actually eliminated the Fleet America's Pacific out of the ring, fought for many months to create conditions, giving the Japanese Army an advantage in the early stages of the war. The Second World invaded many domestic countries, Southeast Asia, and master the region, Asia, Pacific Sea. This making more than 20 countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Netherlands. Canada declared war on Japan after America stepped in total war with this country. For the Americans, this loss was total. President Franklin rose. America was forced to declare war on Japan and officially participate in meetings, bloody war in the Pacific for 6 months. Then America took revenge by making Japan angry, suffered a more painful defeat in the Midway match, 3 years later, at a time when Japan was. The defeat of Kiev is inevitable. America dropped 2 atomic bombs, went down to Hiroshima and Nagasaki to prevent it. Japan's World War II ended. That's it. America's revving for the Battle of Pearl World. War, i.e. port ended. When Japan officially surrendered on September 2nd, 1945 after military service. The Allies withdrew from Japan in April. In 1952, the U.S.-Japan relationship was considered more equal on January 19, 1960. The 2 countries, America and Japan, signed a treaty friendly, and since then Japan is America's closest ally in East Asia more than 70 years after that moment. The horror that the Hawaiian Islands have become a famous tourist destination attracting tourists, guests from all over the world. Best regards, Pearl Harbor with warships. Warships are still out and operating normally usually, and at a corner of each combat position, the ship had been sunk before. We erect our own memorials where the battleship USS Arizona was hit. The sink is a partially decorated concrete building. The most important thing on it is the marble stele, a huge register of 1,177 sailors sank. Follow the ship down to Taipei. They believe that there are thousands of battleships inside the troops, and the ship are still operating every year on December 7 in some of the above places. America held a memorial service for 2,400 people. Soldiers were killed that day and commemorate the generation of people who picked up the flag. Overthrow at the foot of the Pearl Harbor to participate win the World War II World.